Just a quick breakdown of the park. You can see it's kind of a triangle. On the left side is the Wilderness Channel. On the right side is the Comp Channel. Starting in the top pool, we're going to keep right so that we stay in the Wilderness Channel and not the Instructional Channel. Then we're going to merge down into the Confluence pool, and from there we're going to go straight to Sunset, which is the big drop before the whole channel goes right, and that right-hand channel terminates in M-Wave. After M-Wave, we're just going to finish this run through Shutdown and Biscuits and Gravy. Then we're in the bottom pool, and from there we're just going to take the conveyor belt back up to the top pool. Okay, I'm paddling a Dagger Code. I never really got to use this boat too much because it's so big and it has so much rocker, so much stern volume. It's low water in Virginia, so I'm not paddling it a lot. It's really designed for bigger water, keeping you high and dry, keeping you safe off drops. The reason that I brought it is because I wanted to have that extra level of stability going through Comp Channel, which I was a little scared of, to be honest. Had I been in a half slice, I probably would have flipped over a lot more. And what I've done here is to highlight some of the features of the code where it saves me from my bad paddling. I have a little animation, which is going to be in the upper right-hand corner. You'll see that pop off occasionally. right, so entrance exam is just around the corner. As you enter the Wilderness Channel, you make your way right, and then ahead of you is a drop. It's probably like a 5-foot drop or so with a nice long V of uniform water making its way down into a pool with some waves afterwards. Now you can definitely hit this right on. It's steep enough that you want to take a really good stroke to get your bow up, kind of like a baby boof stroke, even if you're just hitting it in the middle. The good advice for going through this kind of stuff is to lean forward and just keep paddling. You're more stable with a paddle in the water, and what you don't want to do is lose momentum right where that moving V of water hits the pool below, because it has a bit of a kind of a seam eddy line little grabby moment. So if you have the wrong bow angle and you give it the edge of your boat, the side of your boat, there's a good chance you'll flip, because all that water can catch on your stern and flip you anyway. The idea here is really to take a big righty boof stroke at the very top of the left-hand side of the drop. That's what I'm trying to do. Basically, a boof stroke is, in this case, a really nice deep right stroke where you're leaned forward, and if you can even grab the edge of the concrete lip underneath the water, not only can you sort of rotate your torso with a normal good forward stroke, you can also push with your left hand to get that lever quality. And what you want to do is have your knees to chest and keep the bow of your boat as high as you can, so that when you land, you just kind of skip out of it, instead of losing momentum and getting trapped between those two different kinds of flowing water, which is what you don't want. As you get to more consequential features, meaning that maybe these holes are retentive, or there's could even be rocks in the landing of a jump, what you want to do is take a huge boof stroke in order to get over the danger zone and into the safe water beyond. So what you can see here is just Keith and I practicing over and over and over, and sometimes we'll run it clean, sometimes we'll run it backwards, sometimes we'll boof it on the left. And the reason that you see us doing so much repetitive paddling here is that it's not common on a wild river that you get to practice a great boof every 3 or 4 minutes. So a lot of this video is going to be focused on those big strokes before you hit a feature, designed to get your bow up and over. Basically, throughout this whole video, you'll see me slowing down the footage either for a key stroke or for a moment where I fail the key stroke. You can see me flip over, and anytime my bow is going well under the water, I would have liked to keep it higher if possible. I get pulled into a side surf later on, which is something we'll look at. And basically, the idea here is just to make sure that you are benefiting from the knowledge of what we're working on while we paddle this. If you get bored, just skip to the next rapid. And I know they look similar, but Keith is paddling in Antics 2. So when you see this bow and those arms with like dark black hair on them, that's how you know it's Keith paddling versus me. Keith, thank you for letting me strap a GoPro to your face for this. So when we take that big right stroke and land in the eddy, remember that eddy is flowing the opposite direction, so you can get a big spray in front of the bow of your boat if you hit that right. It's kind of fun. After some little waves, this drop is called Huey Louis, and it's really just the same as Entrance Exam. The boof on the left isn't quite as good, I don't think, as Entrance Exam, but there's a cool move on your right. You can eventually see me do it, but basically you approach the rocks on your right and you lean into them and you ride the seam of that little V down, and rather than sort of getting stuck in the eddy, you bounce off the eddy line back into the current and just go straight. That's pretty fun. You can hit this one straight on and give a nice big stroke before you get to the bottom to get over the foam pile. It's also worth noting that this is where a lot of people will surf, so it's a steep drop. Keep your eyes up looking down to see if there's anyone in your way. You'll see us encounter some people here who, if we hadn't seen or we hadn't been able to get out of the way of, would have had a very bad time, as their face would have met the bow of our boats. And that is no fun, given I'm 225 and probably going at least 10 miles an hour over that drop. So safety first, be aware. And after Huey Louis, you're just going to go through the pool, and it's Dave's Dilemma under the bridge. So just keep your bow pointed at the bridge, and when you know that's in sight, you know you're on your way down to the confluence pool eventually. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it looks like to have not enough speed and momentum, as well as the wrong boat angle. You can see I immediately get flipped. There's that powerful water rushing underneath me, and when I give it my upstream edge, you can see what happens. All right, just try to be 2 inches left of the rock and lean into the rocks, as in lean away from the downstream V and towards the eddy. Then you're going to bounce off the eddy line right back into the middle of the flow.
Yeah.
Try to time your strokes if you can. You can see me do these frantic, trying to get in position strokes at the very end before this boof, and it's not great.
Yeah, dude.
So you'll see Keith more commonly taking the center line straight down here. Nothing wrong with that. The feeling of accelerating down the kind of hill of water and then ripping a big stroke at the bottom and going straight through that confluence V at the bottom is really fun. So definitely recommend doing that and getting some practice there as well. Just be ready to react to stuff downstream. You really don't want to run these guys over. All right, the first thing you deal with here is just a little left to right situation. So get your bow angle left around the rock, and then you're going to converge onto that other current and clip the edge of the hole. Then you've got one of these basic slides down, find a boof it on the left, but this one really kind of wants you to go straight, so play with it, figure out what you like. And what you're doing is just riding this through 2 other little surf holes, and then there's one final drop, which brings you into the confluence where the instruction channel and the wilderness meet. There's some boily weird currents there, but don't worry about it. Be advised that rafts will commonly hang out on this first thing on your right. Right here. Don't want to be sideways, big right stroke to get myself straight lined up to the top of that V. Exact same mistake again. Okay, the thing to know about our brothers and sisters on rafts here is that a lot of them don't really know what they're doing and are probably actively fighting against the directions that their raft guide is giving them. Because of that, they are big and slow and unpredictable, and so it's a great opportunity to avoid dynamic hazards on the river. Basically, stay away from them if you can. A few times while I'm paddling, I feel the need to kind of clip by them close to stay between a feature and running into the raft. Many people get hit, run over, clipped, like whatever the case might be. So just like be aware that they can't really control where they're going super good, and they're basically in a steam-powered minivan, whereas you are in a motorcycle. So that's the analogy that I keep in my head. Again, bow rocker is basically just when the front of the boat curls up like an elf shoe, and you can see here how it helps me get over this feature despite taking some bad strokes that keep my bow down close to the water where I don't want it to be when I'm crossing over that V. You can also see how the uniformity of the water really does make those downstream V's powerful. And basically what I mean is that if you hit the V in the right place, you don't even need to paddle. It carries you out into that boily water of the confluence in a really satisfying way. Again, the people downstream of you are not in hard boats sometimes. Like this person surfing, getting a boat to the face, like would be a terrible day for them. So again, just be careful. Okay, that's probably enough about this rapid. Honestly, there isn't a ton going on. As long as you're aware of where you are in relation to those strong currents and eddy lines, you're not going to have any problem just picking your way down this. Lots of good opportunities to play as well, but I was feeling a little limited in my creek boat. I had the play boat in the car, but it was 100 degrees, and I really just didn't feel like swapping boats. You know, actually, that's another habit I don't like. What I'm doing here is looking away from the water as I go through like a big splash zone, basically because I have contacts in and I hate the idea of getting water in my eyes. It makes me feel like after I get through one of these features, I have to like take my hands off my paddle and do one of these things. And so my solution in the moment has been just to look away from that water so it doesn't get in my eyes. But if we know anything about kayaking, it's that your head direction matters a lot. Your body tends to follow when you're doing something like really rotating your head. And when your shoulders follow your head, all of a sudden your torso is turned and you're directing your boat to go in another direction. So what I've been told is that if you have a good visor, either that you're putting over your helmet or that fits on your helmet, you can look down really quick, and that visor will then like protect your eyes. That's something I'm working on doing. Tactically closing your eyes for a little tiny while could work as well. What do you guys do about this? Let me know in the comments if you have any solutions, or if you're a contact wearer who is also concerned about that. Rest assured, we're going to pick all this stuff apart, but to start, you can see me on my first run, casually making my way down. I make my way over Sunset, and I'm not really paying attention to snake lips, which are those two little holes after sunset drop. And what happens is I have the wrong boat angle, and I go into one of those holes sideways, and my boat is just the perfect size. I'm going slow enough. I get stuck in a side surf. Basically, I'm in a hole, meaning I'm at the bottom of a little drop, stuck in a recirculating current. I'm sideways, and what I need to do is make sure I'm leaning downstream so that my upstream edge is exposed to the water rushing underneath it. If my upstream edge is too low, that water will pile up on top of it, flipping me, as is about to happen here. But until it flips me, I can lean downstream and dig for some water with my paddle. What I'm trying to do is get to either side of the hole where I can exit, but I need to create that lateral momentum forward from where I'm facing. The problem is that on my right, that water is aerated, making it harder to get purchase. So basically, I flail around. I'm scared of hitting concrete if I flip over, but once I get close enough to the edge of my hole, I flip over, I roll back up, and everything's fine. For the most part, if you're in this situation, especially at the Whitewater Center, if you flip over, there's enough rushing water underneath to grab your body and flush you. And so ultimately, not too worrisome unless the feature is really retentive. And that's important beta to have, because even as a swimmer, after you pull your skirt, you can still be stuck in a hole. So that's why throw ropes exist. That's why we practice swiftwater safety. And this is a good environment to practice all of that as well. This is a fairly chill set of little drops and holes that leads to a big slide called Sunset, which is kind of like entrance exams big brother. And the thing about Sunset is it does have plenty of lines. You can kind of boof it on the right. You can go straight down through it. There's a fun little sneak line on the right. You can kind of bounce over the rocks into the eddy. And actually, before you get to Sunset, there's some opportunity for play. There are, again, these little slides and little holes, and there's one sneak line on the right where you can kind of ride the wall around a rock, and that one's kind of fun, so I'll show you that too. The main thing about this is that in Sunset, you really don't want to flip over. You probably don't want to swim. There's a lot of room to recover, but at the same time, the next thing that happens is a shallow slide down into one of the biggest features here called the M-Wave. It pays to have good boat angle. If you're going to hit this sneak line, don't do it sideways, because this is a nasty pin. If it had gone really any other way, like being stuck in this position upside down between those two rocks, not good. That was almost ugly. Again, especially in Wilderness Channel and especially in a stable boat like the Code, these eddies are not as bad as advertised. Again, remember, 5 out of 6 pumps running. I could be eating my words the next time I visit. Okay, this is the sneak line by Well Hole. I wouldn't be afraid to get some extra speed and kind of do a wall ride. It's pretty fun, worth trying, and pretty low consequence if you screw it up. Ah, yes, the double sneak. Try not to sacrifice form when you're paddling harder. You can see me try and get some extra speed up here, but when I turn on the gas, my bow starts going left and right, and I'm left with the wrong angle when I get ready to line up the sneak. So I just pivot left and deal with it, but just remember, like, practice attaining, which is paddling upstream, practice in flat water, and practice really turning on the gas from a chill paddle and making sure that you stay on line when you're putting some extra oomph into those paddle strokes. So if Keith's boat angle had been closer to 12 o'clock, and if he'd ripped a bigger stroke on either side to get his bow up, he wouldn't have found himself inverted here. Again, he's paddling a half slice with less volume in the stern, so his margin of error is slimmer than mine. Obviously, stellar paddling. This is just one place where he got flipped. I love it when you flip over somewhere you really don't want to be upside down and like panic just sets in and you roll before you even like know what's going on.
I'm just going, boys.
M-Wave looks scary because there's a whole lead up with that slide bringing you towards this tall wave hole. And it looks scary, and it is scary because you don't want to flip over on the slide down and the hole itself is reasonably violent. So mind your boat angle and your stroke timing and your lean, all of that stuff going into it. If you don't feel like dealing with it, you can see the first few times we run it here, we're punching just left of that big foam pile, and you barely even need to paddle. It'll put you right through with no worries. We're watching people do it in play boats, old RPMs, modern creekers like me. Doesn't matter as long as you hit it just left of center and you're not really screwing up your angle. Scary place to be upside down, but he nails the roll.
Yeah, you're good.
This wave hole is not a pure stopper. Wave hole has current moving at the bottom of it and a tall recirculating foam pile on the top. So as long as you get your bow up, you'll go right over that foam pile and reconnect with the moving water just afterwards, and it's a really fun experience. You can kind of feel it in your feet when you hit it in the creek boat. You can see these guys zip just left of that foam pile, but every time you see me punching it afterwards, one of those final strokes, or all of them, are designed to get my bow and feet up so that I can go up that foam pile, and it really helps to be leaning forward and continuing to paddle as you make your way through, because if the foam pile slows you down or stops you, if your angle is bad and you go into it with a little bit of sideways something, you are going to lose speed, and the moving water underneath and behind you is going to wreck you if you show at your upstream edge. I roll here, it's fine, it's not that deep, but it's not that shallow, so I didn't feel anything before rolling over. But there are places in this park, especially in Comp Channel at the bottom of Big Drop, where if you get window shaded, you could scrape your shoulder up on the concrete that's beneath the current. So, be careful. This is not the safest thing in the world, but at the same time, it's super fun, and I only screwed up blasting it over it one time. Now, remember, this boat is probably the easiest boat ever made to smash over this hole in. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments as always, but boy, it sure didn't feel too tricky. All right, Keith's giving us a preview of what's next. It's Jacques Wave and then Shutdown, which is the real hole, not M Wave. Keith's showing us one more thing here, which is the right line. You can see what happens. He's hugging the wall and he touches that eddy and it 360s him so fast. You can then see him cleverly paddle back into the current, giving it the respect it needs because it's moving fast. No worries at all, but that was a fun one, wasn't it? Okay, this is Keith filming me punching M-Wave from the bridge above it. Thanks, Keith. With 5 out of 6 pumps, Jacques Wave is kind of small, not surfable by me. Basically, you're just picking up speed, making your way towards Shutdown and some boogie water with some eddy potential. It's fun. It's not a big deal. M-Wave looks scary and retentive, but really it'll just stop you if you kind of have the wrong boat angle. Shutdown will shut you down. In this video, you can see it hold on to rafts and stuff like that. So you want the right angle. You want to be going fast, basically hit it perpendicular. You want to time one last stroke to get your bow up before you hit it. You do not want to go into it sideways, and you do not want to go into it slowly. My favorite thing between M-Wave and the bottom pool is just the fact that you can kind of bounce back and forth off of eddy lines and get this awesome flowy feeling going back and forth. I really enjoy that, and you can probably see me leaning outside of what is good form as I just kind of enjoy the back and forth, making my way between the eddy lines and trying to pick up speed and all that good stuff. So fun stuff, nothing to worry about. There's also fun rocks to bump over into these eddies. So while it's not like the craziest water ever, there's still plenty to do. Don't just float this last bit. I did that too much, I think. Keith and I are happily sharing this eddy, but I'm conscious that I don't want to go into Shutdown, especially slowly. So I try and grab the edge of it and use my paddle to grab the fast water to speed up a bit, but not go so far river left that I end up getting munched by it. I got too good a look at shutdown last time, so I'm really turning on the gas for some speed to get through it. Another benefit of bow rocker is that it kind of pushes through. So if you have a lot of speed and you hit a hole, you're kind of breaking it apart so you can get through. And all of the stern volume in the back, the puffy, inflated kind of part of my boat that's sitting just behind my lower back, has so much air in it that when it gets buried, all that air prevents it from entering, from standing straight up. If I had a half slice and all that water was piling up on my stern, it'd be more likely that my bow would end up vertical, punching through holes like shutdown. But there's so much air inside the back of my boat that when it gets submerged, it kind of shoots me forward and up as it seeks the surface. This isn't always true. Obviously, with more water, I'd get entered like crazy. But this is one of the benefits of creek boats, and it's one of the reasons that they're more stable and kind of safer in some ways than half slices or play boats or smaller ones, whatever. Take your pick. See, my stern gets buried but resurfaces and like pushes me forward. Carnage. So Keith managed to capture this on camera, which is basically just a raft coming down, getting shut down by a shutdown hole, losing the entire boat of people except for the raft guide sitting on the back. Then the raft guide is stuck in the hole and eventually makes his way out expertly. And at the conclusion of this video somewhere, you'll see Adam, Keith, and I helping to clean up the pieces from that mass yard sale, which is like so fun to watch. You can spend a whole day here just looking at carnage at places like Carnage Corner, Shutdown, M-Wave, Big Drop, etc. Okay, someone please tell me I'm wrong, but with 5 pumps running, Biscuits and Gravy is basically nothing. With all 6 pumps running, I'm given to understand that it's a super fun, bouncy kind of situation. And it's still kind of fun. I mean, you're bouncing off eddy lines going back and forth. There's a little wave or two. But honestly, the hardest part of this feature is probably just the strong eddy lines as you exit into the bottom pool. There's weird boils and stuff like that. So don't ignore your boat angle and stuff like that. Like, you're not really just like sitting in flat water as you exit this rapid. That's the only thing for me to call out about it. I'm sure, like I said, it's more exciting with more stuff going on, but I won't dwell on it too much here because there really is not a ton going on. I love this thing. It's so much fun. So basically you just paddle up to this entryway at the bottom of the conveyor belt, and you get closer and closer, try and line up so you're in the middle, and then eventually these little rubber bits grab onto your boat and carry you up. It's like a 30-second ride up or something like that, but it's a great chance to drink some water if you don't feel like getting out of your boat. And the ramp at the end offers some opportunity for, tricks, I guess you would call them, just fun little things to do as you exit into the top pool where the conveyor belt is depositing you. So there's 2 tricks here that I'm trying. The first is just a paddle toss, which I do a lot. And the thing is, you gain a lot of speed as you go down this ramp. So if you're going to do a paddle toss, make sure to throw it like a solid 2 yards in front of you and nice and high so you have time to get underneath it before you catch it. The other one that's fun is make sure you're in the middle, because your bow and stern need places to rotate without running into the guardrails on the sides. But basically, you just grip your paddle around one of the power faces, so you have a lot of extending reach on the other side. You grab the edge of the railing, and you're going to have to do this much more forcefully than you think, but basically grab it and start to rotate. Can I do this in my chair? Yeah, start to rotate and just drop back into the pool however you end up facing. And it's a good boat control experience too, so just a fun thing to do at the end.